it, it's been like a minute, a hot minute since I was like able to do a well, I don't know if able's the right word, but you know, since I did a third stream a week, it's been I double checked after last time, and I did that. I think I did it twice in a row. I could check now, but I don't feel like it. I want to say I did it twice in a row. It might have been 3 times even, which I don't like. I want to stay on schedule, but it was kind of like unfortunate coincidences. What with real life junk and yada yada yada. So with that in mind, since I didn't want to do those, I was committed to making sure I streamed tonight. And do you want to know something? Today was not was bad. It was a bad day. So it was, you know, maybe at another point I would have just been like, actually, yeah, I will just cancel stream tonight, but like I said, I'm committed to it. Also, not to mention, if I get fired, I'm probably just gonna stream a lot more, so gotta get in the gear for that. I remember watching videos of some folks I like as they're talking. They're like, yeah, actually, I had never been fired before, and then this happened, yada yada yada. And I'm like, I don't know what it would be like if was thinking of. I don't know what I would get fired over. I'd like to imagine something stupid, but I'm gonna try and keep avoiding it for the time being. So in other news, how about we work on some art? Honestly, it's been a minute since we just worked on the good old comic on stream. So I figured we could do that. So let's get around to it. You know, I said on I was thinking of. Also, are these things lined up? I think these started getting, yeah, they're mostly lined up. The panel started getting misaligned at some point, and I don't know why. But anyway, what was it just thinking of? Yeah, I put the comic back on Patreon, and like, that helps out for sure, which is why I put the Patreon back up. But it is like, I completely lost my train of thought. Honestly, you know, Shark Boy and Lava Girl might not be what you'd call a good movie, but every time my brain stutters, I think of the scene where, I haven't seen that movie in so long, but I still think of the scene where, like, they're on the train of thought and it's like crashing. And I was not aware of that expression before I saw that movie, but now it's the only thing that comes to mind. It is weirdly even more disruptive to me trying to be like, oh, what was I just thinking of? Because you know, I lose track of what I was saying, and and all of a sudden, as I'm trying to get back to like, oh, you know what, it's probably something like this, all I can think of is Shark Boy and Lava Girl. Shark Boy and Lava Girl. It's just like, well, I probably wasn't thinking about Shark Boy and Lava Girl. And also, not to mention, I can't just talk about Shark Boy and Lava Girl every time I lose track of where I was in a conversation. It's definitely not how interacting with other people works. Oh my goodness. Ugh. Speaking of, I have like no desire to interact with other people. That tells you the kind of day it's been. I do wonder, because not to be like, I'm an introvert, that kind of thing. It's but more, but I like staying in. Whether or not I've had a bad day out with people, I still like staying in afterwards. You feel me? So like with that in mind, do extroverted people have a bad day like out seeing people, and then they think, well, the only thing that can fix this is if I go out and see more people? Because I definitely don't get that at all. That math doesn't line up for me at all, but also, again, they're living life a little differently from me, so I can't say. Like, if it works, it works. I just don't understand how or if it works. Granted, like, are there extra, again, not to be like nerd online talking about being introverted, but I'm just curious. Do extroverted people have social anxiety? Is that a thing? Are there people who like being around other people while also being afraid of other people? That'd be real fuck busted. That'd make me glad that I'm that would make me be like, oh, I kind of like got the lucky combo, all things considered. Because, like, I mean, you could be introverted without social anxiety, but, like, I haven't. I don't know. I don't know how many people I've met that fit that description. They're probably staying inside. So I don't know how many people I can say I've met with that description. And then you can be extroverted without social anxiety, and I feel like that's the norm for plenty of folks. If I had to guess, the extroverted with social anxiety, that should be some kind of war crime. We took this prisoner of war at our last battle. So, as a form of torture, we've been slowly giving him social anxiety, so that when he goes back home to party, he won't stop worrying about what other people are thinking about him. Hey, you're going to jail for that. Like, in some ways, you didn't really do much to him, but you're wicked. That's so messed up on so many levels. So yeah, jail for sure. So sometimes I'll just like outlining trees. That's calming. I'll just start the Bob Ross syndrome. Happy little trees. I like how I'm saying happy little trees, but I'm using them as a framing device for a guy who's going to be crawling on his arms, just like this. You know how people do. But calling out for help, basically. Good old Lieutenant Larry. Do I still have it on my phone? I had notes set up for... I do. Let me see. Lieutenant. Okay, yep. Because I brought up how, like, the structure of the Navy for the purposes of the United Trade Islands, who are the villains, at least of this first little story here. And I was like, Lieutenant has you in charge of people, but it's not like super high up. Lieutenant Commander. So there's starting a little up the ladder. You have Lieutenant Commander, Commander, Captain, Rear Admiral lower half, Rear Admiral upper half, Vice Admiral, Admiral, and Fleet Admiral. So, do I actually know what any of those people do? Not even a little bit. But I'm just kind of using the titles to help inform the power structure of a, what is it called? Of a super capitalistic trade federation from Star Wars in my cartoon world. So, like, the point is that this society that kind of serves as the default setting for the Wallop Bros is somewhat structured like a business, somewhat structured like the Navy, and somewhat structured like a monarchy. So it's got a whole bunch of stuff. And if anyone later on is just like, well, this one thing you said doesn't match up to any of those, shut up. don't talk. No. If anything, the reason I'm saying like shut up is because, yeah, there's probably going to be maybe one or two things that don't line up with either of any of what I said. But my point of talking about all the overlaps in like the influence of this thing's power structure is just to show that even though the important people are using kind of like not military, it is military, but specifically Navy terms, doesn't mean that it's purely a naval thing. You know what? I don't necessarily not like want to put a pause in the art, but give me a second. What do lieutenants do in the Navy? In the Navy, lead teams, manage personnel, plan and execute naval operations. That's literally exactly. I don't know if I made Lieutenant Larry after reading that, if I gave him his title after learning that, but also I know I've been drawing him with a hat the entire time, but I think now that he's all beaten up, he doesn't get a hat anymore. He will get several lumps on his head, so that's fun. Those are gonna look like eyeballs though. Come back, you cowards. That's what he's doing. But yeah, because I was about to say, like, you know, we saw a brief thing of Larry here getting like his ship and everything in the backgrounds of one of the comics. But even when I was drawing that, I was like, this isn't really his ship. He hasn't given command of a ship. He has just managed to plan an operation, and thus has been given kind of like the run of a ship. Brief kind of, you know, brief charge of a ship to do the operation. Well, that doesn't mean that he's in charge and much more. I haven't really, what was I thinking of? I haven't really fleshed it out a super good amount in this story, but I was kind of trying to do a thing where Larry here is kind of a dickhead to his subordinates as much as he is a dickhead to like Walt and Willie, you know? Like, there is no one who's on his good side and vice versa. And I probably didn't stress that as much as I could have to really get the themes across, but it's the first story arc I did a lot of experimenting in in the comic outside of this too, so I think having some of the, you know, some of the themes meant to be in the initial story, or have it being like a little less present, that's fine. They don't need to be like a big thing. Should I just, because I don't, you know what, maybe we have them be even like smaller. Like, what if I just make the... What if I have these retreating soldiers here just be basically as small as I can make them? Just like that. One's kind of like I had before. Gotta have a little three-dimensionality to them. Well, wait a minute, I just realized. Even more of a half measure, because I was like, if I can't fit the bodies on there, maybe I could have Numi lines, like, you know, like, that kind of stuff. And then, what about, yeah, and then the speech bubbles up here. Or I'm figuring stuff out, okay? Get off my back, Mom. This hat. I've drawn these soldiers with these tall ass hats so much that I feel like whether or not it's super clear visual language. Again, it's visual language I'm building, which is why I'm like, I should include it, you know. But it means they won't just kind of be like people shape. Does that work? Yeah, I think that kind of works. You know what? I think it is just best. I think it would just be best if I had motion line, maybe that had the word retreat in it. Maybe like one of the hats and what have you. And then he's just saying, it's like, get back here, cowards. That's the big thing. And it is going to intersect with this tree, but you know, not really much to do about that. Yeah, you know, honestly, if I just kind of have like debris flying up over the hill, I think that's clear enough. And then some decent motion lines here. And then what if maybe I have them say, I don't usually sketch out the word bubbles, but they're really... Okay, so what about... I'm trying to think it through is the thing, alright? I don't know how much ink we're gonna put down tonight, but we're really planning back. We're really planning out kind of how the whole thing looks. Here's that. I think that's okay. I want to try and do a thing where it's like I have the surrender being tied to these motion lines. Like, I think that would probably be for the best. Zaid! Is my good friend Zaid raiding? Is my good friend Zaid zaiding? After playing some Monster Hunter World? Oh, wait, Zaid, you didn't buy... I just realized, I haven't talked to you about this. You hadn't been playing Monster Hunter before that. Wasn't that what you were saying? I believe I saw that going live in your first going live message. So I hope you're enjoying it. And if you're planning to get wilds, I hope we can play together. First time I play Mon Hunt. Here's the thing. It's clobbering time. I want to play... I got Monster Hunter 4 for the DS, so I want to play that. But then I want to play Generations again after it. I have to play... I also got World, so I have to play that at some point. But the thing about it is, like, if I play Generations on my DS again, that version doesn't have Fatalis in it. I think Fatalis is only in Generations Ultimate on the Switch. So... then I'd have to switch to Switch, and like that's fine. But DS is cool. I've been enjoying the DS. But yeah, welcome on in, Raiders. If you don't know me, I'm Cahill. I like me some action games, much like Monster Hunter. We'll be playing that when it comes out, and then I also like platformers. We did all of Sonic Mania last night. Which, by the way, when I was saying it was a bad day today, it started when none of my alarms went off in the morning, so that was pretty good. So, yeah. I don't know if Sonic Mania had anything to do with that, but it wasn't a good time. But yeah, I hope you're enjoying Monster Hunter, Zaid. I haven't played World, but I've heard it's a real good one, and it's definitely kind of... It has both changed Monster Hunter for the better in a lot of ways, as well as what was I thinking of? As well as the fact that it definitely seems to be the direction Wild is going for, which is fun. Also, question: if anyone in the raid party would like to answer. I'm doing this thing where this is meet Lieutenant Ambassador Larry. He's a shithead capitalist pig who is treating the soldiers left in his charge poorly, tried to kill children on several occasions, and has now failed and is being chased off an island. If I have his soldiers retreating over this hill, as you can see, and him down here, if I have like the balloon going like this, is it clear that it's following this trail as opposed to being tied to Larry? Does this read? Hopefully it reads. That's what I'm figuring out right now. Also, for this one, we'll have... Is that... No. It'd be the other arm. But yeah. Welcome on in, Raiders. Zaid, if you're like, I need to go chill out, please feel free to. No pressure. But if any of the raid party wants to hang around, feel free. I appreciate it. But like I said, I'm just figuring out some jazz right now. You like jazz? Hello? This is not at all what I meant? Okay, it's gone. Sick. Random menus popping out of the CSP. That's why I was not using digital art shit for the longest time. Because even now, after using it for a long while, I'd say, there's still plenty of times where something pops up and I'm just like, I don't fucking know what this is. And to a degree, I just like pencil and paper, where it's like, well, I have pencil and I have paper, so I know everything I'm working with. Oh yeah, you know what? I was thinking, I don't know if this would get the comic any traction. And granted, even though I opened up the Patreon again, both because I put out the book and because I've been doing the comic so regularly, that I'm like, well, that was why I shut down Patreon before, and now I'm actually I'm not easily. I am doing something regularly enough that I feel like I could open up a Patreon. What was I just thinking of? Alright, I'm still not trying to big on like, I need to sell the comic. I'm just like, I do it because I like it. But with that in mind, I was like, could I make a poster where I sell the Wallop Brothers as the world's second best pirate comic? Because if you ask me, I think that's pretty good praise. And I mean, it's definitely not 1,200 chapters long, so like, and it's gonna take a while to get there. So it has some of the benefits with not a lot of the drawbacks. See? Benefits of reading the Wallop Bros that you would also get by reading One Piece, which I wouldn't be able to say in the ad because it would be that might be they will sue. 1. Think of pirates. 2. Laugh maybe sometimes. 3. I've run out of things to say. things Wallop Brothers does better than One Piece. We don't have the pervy anime character trope. Thus ends the list. And with that list is over. So, not a very long one. I'm not one to toot my own horn, especially not comparing myself to something like that, but don't gotta worry about no Fishman Island shenanigans around here. That's for sure. I'm trying to think. Because Fishman Island is after the time skip. Is there much, like, earlier problematic stuff in One Piece? I don't know if there's nothing to that degree as far as I remember. But that's also me remembering, like, the manga. As opposed to the anime. And they could have thrown some weird stuff into the anime for filler, so it's like... Who can say? Can we cancel Monkey D. Luffy? He punches people. It's like, that's it? Yeah. Oh, and are they bad people? Maybe. I think he's fine. I say we continue letting him punch people. Frankly. Honestly, I appreciate Luffy, because as dumb as he kinda is, and definitely is, I think the one thing about One Piece is that he's always had a very unwavering moral compass. And is really able to just kind of cut through a lot of bullshit. So... Luffy just gets right to the heart of any one problem at any point during One Piece. And honestly, that is refreshing to see sometimes. Luffy will never pull the, uh-oh, I've accidentally misunderstood one of my friends, like, trope. You know, Luffy will never accidentally overhear a phone call conversation and get his feelings hurt. And that is for that is to everyone's benefit in so many ways. Has anyone liked that trope? That's not something people have ever enjoyed, right? I can't imagine. I'm gonna be so real with you. I understand, like, everyone has their own opinions and preferences and yada yada yada. It's really hard. It's really hard for me to be like, yeah, there's someone out there who loves the trope in TV and movies where someone hears half of a conversation and you know, gets their feelings hurt even though it was 110% not what the conversation was about. Which, like, that's not even like a, oh, so you shouldn't eavesdrop. Because, like, if you were eavesdropping, you'd hear the whole conversation. You would stay to be like, well, what the fuck else are they saying? And then you'd realize it's like, oh, they're saying nice things. Literally the only time I can think of that trope being used well is in Gravity Falls. And even then, I'd argue it's not, like, one of the better parts of the episode it's featured in. And more so, like, you know, like, okay, you could have the same emotional impact and, like, kind of narrative, like, what was I thinking of? And narrative layout if in that situation where Dipper overhears Bill saying something and he thinks he's being mean about Dipper when really it's him saying that people used to call it, like, Stan mean things, himself mean things. You could have that by having Dipper come to the conclusion that Stan is, like, mean and rough on him for no reason. And then, like, he overhears that, starts to walk away, only to hear, like, yeah, that's what they used to say about me. You know what I mean? You don't even need the first part. And also, if I remember correctly, it doesn't even go on. It's not like that's the whole episode. I actually think that's in the very last part of the episode. Dipper gets mad about it, accidentally walks back into the same conversation, and realizes Stan was being nice about Dipper and trying to do him a favor. Huh. What was I thinking of? And then in this one, let me divide the page in two. This will be the first time I try and draw Walt and Willie somewhat menacingly. If anyone, I don't know if I was gonna say this as like, if anyone wants this, I don't know if this is an incentive to go to my Patreon or not. It might be a scare tactic, if anything, but if anyone wants to hear, like, the deeper story and lore of what's happening, I put way more of that on there at the moment as, like, one of the, you know, few quote-unquote benefits you get. Like, I don't know if I put out on the post when the comic came out or what have you, but like I've dropped 2 of the island names for the 2 locations the boys have been already. I was laying out some magic stuff, some of the magic shenanigans we've already come across. I will say, as much as it is like magic, I never think of it like magic, and when I say it, I'm kind of referring to like the seafaring superstitions and what have you that inform a decent amount of pirate fiction, in particular, as I'm always thinking of like Pirates of the Caribbean and stuff. I guess you could just describe that as a soft magic system in general, but you know, in this case, it's kind of the idea of like an accursed island with I don't know if accursed is the right word, but that's definitely how it would be perceived. An accursed island with a treasure, forbidden treasure upon it. That's what we're working with just about here in this part of the story, ATM. This should probably be scaled down. Transform, scale, because I need to draw their hats and everything. Well, I say that because I'm going to be drawing a lot of it in shadow, so we only have outlines to work with. But on the other hand, I think the whole idea is supposed to be them. Well, maybe not this credit. Okay. Give me 1 second. Oh, no, I do need that back. Because that is roughly, you know. I just realized. Well, okay. Fix that. I'm doing layer stuff that none of chat can see. But yeah. Yeah, I know I say this so much these days, but no desire to go back to work. Especially not before my big Monster Hunter Wilds weekend coming up. And I'm really looking forward to that. I'm glad I'm taking it both as kind of a vacation thing and also because, you know, I definitely feel like I don't necessarily get to play a lot of like bigger, longer games and what have you. Thanks to how life is at ATM. Also, you know what? We'll leave this for right now because, yeah, let's draw the body. But yeah, because of like how life is ATM. And for Monster Hunter, like, I'm definitely okay coming home and doing like 2 or 3 hunts a night. As long as the save file is already kind of there, right? Like, I can definitely come home and do some hunts with friends if I've already spent a decent amount of time setting up a character and getting through the game a bit. Which isn't going to happen if I only have the time for like 2 or 3 hunts every now and then. At that point, I don't think there's that. I really don't think any Monster Hunter you could get through any of them like that. You'd spend it all. You'd spend a long ass time on any Monster Hunter just being like, yeah, I'll just do a few. Which, granted, it's kind of the point, at least from a developer's perspective. But in terms of a player, it's like, well, I want to experience this in kind of like a somewhat like paced and consistent form. So transform. I'm definitely gonna have their face in Shadow. So what? Shadow the Hedgehog. I'm definitely gonna have their face as Shadow the Hedgehog. So what if in this kind of nebulous space I have like this, and then mallet. Did I draw Walt with his mallet? I feel like I've drawn it at some point. I don't know if in a recent comic or what have you. Let's check. Oh, well, it was at one point when they were getting through the island itself. But then, yeah, after that, in the actual fight, he had a gun. Walt specializes with mallet. So Walt has, I mean, anytime Walt is holding a flintlock pistol, it's because he's borrowed it off of Willie. Willie is as much the what was I thinking of? Is as much the gunner of the Walt brother pirates as he is the like the navigation and the brains. I mean, I guess if you were to give either of the boys like a kind of proper role, from what I understand of like Pirates crew structure, it would mostly be like Walt's the captain, Willie's the quartermaster, because Walt definitely takes charge in more, you know, in more like moment to moment situations, but in terms of planning things out, doing certain supply shit, etc., Willie is definitely like, I'm handling that. Walt is not the brightest person to exist. He can be a little street smart, but I definitely think Willie has had far more of an education in general than Walt ever got, so. And they're only a year apart, but. Listen, a lot can happen in a year. You know what can happen in a year? Walt can be like, wow, I'm kind of stupid. It might be good to start helping my brother learn things. Get him a book or two he might read. So that way maybe one of us can be somewhat intelligent. Even if not for the purposes of getting a job. Just so that one of us is intelligent. So, and then I definitely think it was also a sort of natural proclivity of Willie's to gravitate towards books as opposed to Walt. Just kind of worrying about Big Brother stuff and yada 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 yada. I got definitely will do some creepypasta shit with these ones. They are going to be scary. Listen, I don't mean to tell chat their business, but if two small children that you found in the middle of the jungle bounced bullets off their chest and then came up to you with clear intentions of violence, you'd probably be like, well, this is intimidating, to say the least. There's junk in my ear. Oh, goodness. Yeah. I will say, I forget how much I talked about it on stream last night. Imagine something that didn't help with just the whole tone of the day was the fact that I got done dog sitting like this morning, specifically this morning, which I'm not blaming like people who had me dog sit because I like dog sitting for them, but rather just the way schedules worked out. I got out of there, like I had to be out of there this morning, which meant I had to pack up and junk before work. Do a bunch of stuff, etc, etc. So I don't think that helped set the tone for the day. Who knows, maybe I'll get a little more sleep tonight. That being said, I realized we don't have, since everyone's been out of the house, we have no stuff for like sandwiches, aka my typical breakfast, not breakfast, I mean kind of, my typical lunch fare at work, so I'm gonna be improvising with some snacks tomorrow, and then I gotta go pick up some groceries. I mean, tomorrow I'll probably come home and doodle a bit more and go to bed. This isn't getting a good idea. And then maybe like I have their shirts there, but then there's like the shadows are kind of like cast like this. We do like this. That looks, yeah, that can be good. Maybe I should get a little JoJo rumble in there. I do wonder, because there's definitely people who are able to read comics and both read like manga as it is originally printed and American comics. And I wonder, do the sound effects in manga like have the same kind of feel to American comic sound effects? I don't mean to get nerdy on y'all. It's just that to me, when like I'm reading a manga, when they have a sound effect, I read it as like, you know, it looks like it's like a symbol that I know means a certain onomatopoeia that they're communicating, and they've managed to work that into the art. And granted, oh goodness, I'm so sorry about all that. Got phlegm in my throat. And you know, granted, there's plenty of examples of American comics working in sound effects to like the images and what have you. But at least to me it feels different because in manga it reads as like one single thing, whereas in English you've got to spell out a word. So I don't know if that reads the same, if you can actually, like, you know, if you have a deeper understanding and can read it in Japanese. I feel like that was, I didn't do a good job of communicating my point there, but I hope some people get what I'm saying. That's why I started off with saying different feel, because, what was I thinking of? I don't know. It's something different. I'm so sorry that I'm not drawing more. My ear started itching so bad out of nowhere. I have no idea what's happening right now. I gotta itch this ear. Okay, I think we're a little better. Alright. Honestly, I'm gonna do myself a favor, and we're gonna get to this and start with some of the easier panels to do. So i.e. just Larry here sitting on the ground like the jerk he is, like the jackass he is. And that's not just me being mean, even though it is, because I write the comics and I've called him a jackass. Like, it is a callback. I'm trying to make it a callback, but it is me being mean because it's a callback to things I've already written about him, in which I called him a jackass. Oops. Goodness. My phone keeps sliding down my desk tonight. Pull up reference. I forget if I ever drew Larry facing forward. I have. Is that the only panel? Because that's kind of a low quality panel of him facing forward. That might be the only time I drew Larry facing forward. That's kind of funny. For reference, it's like in comic, like, I don't know. This is 23. Reference is in comic 20. And it's just a slightly scrunchy version of him running up to the fountain. So the fact that seems to be the only time I've drawn him running forward. Facing forward, even. It's kinda goofy. But he's not goofy. Legally distinct. I can draw things in an old cartoon style that's not inherently Disney. They don't own that. Draw him a little this way. But yeah, you know. It doesn't help that. Like, I'm having fun doing the comics, but something that also doesn't help with any work fatigue is I got a decent few obligations outside of just like work and my own personal projects at the moment, which is, oh goodness. And I guess you could account I guess you could have counted dog sitting amongst them as like an example. I don't know, dog sitting's nice. I get a place to myself for like a week at least. And I get to hang out with a cool dog. That being said, I missed Oswald. And I'm glad I'm back with the little guy. He brings me happiness. He's such a little guy. As opposed to Larry here, who's a jackass. I feel like I have specifically I'm almost like positive that the reason I specifically chose calling Larry a jackass as like the go-to insult for him was because I remembered watching Pinocchio at my grandparents at one point, and they say jackass in that movie. And I was like, oh my goodness, Disney did a cuss. You know, it's like, well, listen. If a lot of this style is inspired by old cartoons, I can do a little cuss as a treat, you know. One of the little cusses, one that wouldn't get centered on like every channel. They can say fuck on like HBO, right? That doesn't even matter now, does it? Because like you have ratings, but it's not like daytime television. So with so much streaming stuff, and I sound like such a boomer talking about that. Like, I'm not complaining that. It just occurred to me. I'm talking about like ratings and what you can and cannot say on TV, which I guess was important for something like the Super Bowl, but still, I think for most of the year at this point, it's like more people are just watching it on streaming. So, and on streaming you can say and show whatever. I'm sure if you were getting really wild with it, they'd be like, "Hey, you gotta make sure kids aren't on here." But like Netflix, they say wild things, at least, and they just let whole families in there with Mima and Peepaw and little Billy. So clearly the concern about what you can and cannot say on TV is somewhat an issue of the past. That was a running joke in Fairly Odd Parents, which is, as far as cartoon shows go, I've seen better. I remember when I was watching it back in its golden days. I specifically remember in like a Vicky episode. I think it's where Timmy's doing like a magical radio show, and Vicky's mad because he's making fun of her on it, and she doesn't know who's actually doing the radio show. And they're like, well, you can't say that on radio, just TV. And then also, I remember one of the Crimson Chin episodes, there's like a edgy Crimson Chin variant. And he was talking about what you can't, like, say on TV. They were having a lot of fun. Before everything, before the Fire Nation attack. Which honestly isn't even fair to the Fire Nation, because that's from a better show as well. If the conversation becomes talking about what is the best Nickelodeon animated show, I feel like Avatar has to be in the short list for winner. But that could also be my own bias showing. Also, can I see what a black eye looks like? Don't hit me. Don't! Give him a... Gotcha. Probably can't do too much of this because this is a thing in color, but I'll do what I can. Do what I can to give Larry here a black eye. Oh wait, let me draw his normal eye first. Real eyes, real eyes. Yeah, it's about right. You know, I don't... Because I remember people talking about, like, the timeline. And I don't mean to keep comparing my own comic to One Piece, but, you know. Just for the sake of talking about, like, comic making and stuff. And also, One Piece is the only thing I can think of in terms of other seafaring comic. But, like, I remember a lot of different people being just like, here's the timeline of how long the... You got it, Paula. Speaking of seafaring, Parrot. This is the timeline of, like, the Straw Hat's voyage. And I'm like, I don't know if I agree with that, just based on vibes. But in terms of this thing, the Wallop Bros and Lieutenant Larry here with his crew by extension were out at sea for about a week before they got to this island from where they had left. Took them about a week of sailing. So that's the timeline so far. I don't know how, like, what's the longest I would have the boys be out at sea, you know, just because obviously as much as I do want this comic to have a lot of sea traveling, you can't have them just on, you know, out there all the time, just kind of hanging out on the ship. So I can't just go rewrite Moby Dick for the purpose of my cartoon comic. You know, like just really expand on the hardships faced at sea as my cartoon kids just spend months on end sailing around the ocean. Also, I'm sure me saying that might have some kind of, like, lore implications for other things. I don't mean to keep plugging Patreon, but, like, me talking about, like, oh, things I put on the Patreon, that's me taking a half measure between just outright saying the lore on here and not saying it at all. But I'm sure there's some lore implications between this and what I put on Patreon, but, like, about, like, how far they've gone out based on just me saying that they've been out for about a week. But I don't care. They could be anywhere in the world right now. You don't know. And I would say more in terms of just like world building and stuff, but again, we'll save that for special occasions. Oh, can I say a quick Monster Hunter Wilds thing with the latest trailer? If it's okay with chat. And I know some people are really just like, I don't want spoilers even from like the trailers. You ready? Okay. Like, there are some like mid to late game monsters I've been hoping they would be like, yep, they're confirmed for, you know, the for Wilds and everything. But in the latest one specifically, they confirmed that I love how I sneezed the moment I tried saying the name. They specifically talked about Gore Magala coming back, which is I love Gore Magala and Shigura Magala by extension. Which I love how I am decently sure I've seen people like in a fit like on like the wiki or what have you or in articles be like, well, this one's here, but we don't know about this one. Like for example, like Rathlos, meaning, well, not necessarily meaning Rathian's back. It's like Rathlos is in, Rathian's coming back, and if Gore Magala's in, Shigura Magala's coming back. But I love those guys. But still, I want to see my boy Tigrex in the game. And the fact that they were just like, look, pseudo Elder Dragon is here. I'm like, I do like that. I was hoping for a bit something a little like, I was honestly hoping for something a little smaller actually. Could you imagine if before they confirmed like, I don't know, Tetranoton coming back from Rise, they were like, and Fatalis is returning. And it's just like, I'm glad, but that could have waited. You could have told us about the smaller guys first. So. Does this read as him being beat up? I mean, I'm sure it will. The more I add, like, you know, little marks and everything on here. Honestly, I don't want to know anything. Oh, let it be a surprise for once. Okay, well then I'm glad you missed what I said earlier, Cold. If you just came in, that's good. Because I was talking about a monster they confirmed returning. Which I will not repeat. But yeah. No, I want to know what monster's returning. I think I said this on stream at one point. I feel like it's in some ways it's natural to want every monster hunter to be the biggest monster hunter, just in the idea of like, hey, every monster is coming back, so that way no one's favorite is getting left out, you know. But obviously that's easier said than done for many a reason. But also I completely also get, I think it's more interesting not to. That's an interesting double standard, Cole, but it was a thing, you know? But oh no, I 100% agree. Like granted, I didn't know who Rajang was before I played Rise, but like I would love it if they just kept Rajang / Devil Joe, one of those guys. I think of them in kind of the same way, a secret until like launch. So that way you're you watch the trailers, but you're still going in blind. Like, you know, you're not looking up any guides or anything. And then you're on a quest and just out of nowhere, Angry Pickle. And it's like, oh! But yeah, I kind of agree with you, Gold, for something like this, I 100% get why people would be like, no, I want it to be a surprise, more than like other trailers for things where people are like, don't tell me what happens. You know, just like it was the trailer for fucking like like I don't know, Skyrim remastered. How do you this is, I don't even think plot twists are the biggest thing in that game. But what was I thinking of? But at the same time, as much as I would love a cool returning monster to be a surprise, even more so than like a cool new monster, I also am just like, okay, give me the full monster list right now. Let me know who I get to see. It's kind of like wanting a surprise party, but also wanting to know exactly who's coming to your surprise party. Very hard line to walk. Granted, I'm speaking as someone who does want to know about returning monsters. At least in trailers. Like when the game is out, I really don't want people DMing me or any shit. Not that people DM me, but I don't want people being like, "Oh my goodness, this monster's back." It's like I would have rather just found that in the game, but like I'm watching the trailers, so to some degree, if they're highlighting monsters, and how many monsters have they even put in the trailers at this point? Like, not more than a dozen, right? In terms of like big monsters you'd be hunting. And like that wouldn't, even for like launch Rise or what have you, that would be way too few monsters. So clearly there's going to be lots more than they're saying once the game comes out, but yeah. I will say this as well. And don't crucify me for this. I like using T-Rex equipment because it just has that good raw damage that I'm looking for. And, you know, basically all the Monster Hunters I've played have had T-Rex in them. And I'm not going to expect him to necessarily be in, like, every game, but I can still hope. And I've heard some people be like, I don't want T-Rex, but, like, I don't want them to bring back Zinogre. I don't know if that's blasphemy. I know there's lots of people who like Zinogre. I'm not really in on the hype there. And I'm not the biggest fan of fighting him. So if we're cutting a monster that, like, come back a lot... if you asked me... I'm sorry, Zinogre fans. I'm glad you like him, unironically. I mean, like I was just talking about, I like Tigrex for, like, design of the monster itself and its equipment. And Zinogre has cool equipment too, obviously. So at that point, it's literally just a matter of, like, I enjoy going after a Tigrex more than a Zinogre. I get a T-Rex quest, and I'm like, oh yeah, time to go head to head with one of the strongest wyverns out there. And then I get a Zinogre quest, and I'm like, I'm gonna get electric balls in my face again. I'm gonna fucking, and I'm gonna end up like stunned and falling on the ground on my ass again. Like, not so much what I'm looking for. So honestly, I'm gonna be happy to see any. Well, I don't want to say any returning monsters. That's probably not true. But I'm gonna be happy to see lots of returning monsters. Like, honestly, Zinogre is not even necessarily the monster I'd most be like, oh fuck that. I'd really have to go through and think about, like, what monster I'd be like, you can't, don't let him come back. I will say this, even though I think Stealth was talking about, it's like, man, I don't like the Rampage quest now because I had to do some alone. I used to like the Rampage quest even after doing some alone. And the fact they didn't bring back, I always need to look up his name. He has two repeating syllables and it messes me up. Oh my goodness. Monster Hunter. And then it's like... Lao Shan Lung. Yeah. No matter how you feel about the Rampage quests in general, they were just kind of an upgrade of the... I already forgot it. Lao Shan Lung quest. And the fact he didn't come back in Rise for that is a little disappointing. So if they brought him back in this game, I'd be like, what the fuck? Don't ever expect them to exclude Diablos, but I will always be mad whenever I have to fight it. Well, that's what I'm saying, Gold, right? Like, at least for me, because I like being able to make the same equipment. I like that, you know, consistency across my characters in different games. So I look for monsters I like that are in a lot of Monster Hunter games, right? And then, of course, I always make sure to make stuff for the new guys. But I also recognize not every common, like, you know, reoccurring big monster that's ever appeared in a Monster Hunter is gonna come back for the new one, right? But that kind of feels like more pressure, because now it's like, okay, chances are at least one, like, reoccurring popular monster isn't going to be in this new game. And I sure hope it's not the one I like. Because there's definitely one I don't like as much. And if I have to fight him instead of my boy, then I'm gonna be pretty sad. I'm gonna be like, he's here, but not my guy? Capcom, why? Well, I will say, in terms of monsters from the last game, like monsters that were introduced with the Rise, I would like Magnamalo and Tetranodon, which is that's a wide gulf there, but I would like Magnamalo and Tetranodon to come back. I think those two were highlights of Rise. So I'd be real in to seeing them come back in this even bigger game. That would 100% be my jam. Be in every game. He's so good. If I don't have to kill Tetranodon, I'm not going to. If I don't need it for a carve or or the quest itself, I'm capturing him, and he's going to be my friend because he's adorable. Is he the parrot I have up right now? He is. He is adorable. He's fun to fight. He has funky moves. I like him. I want him back. Because I was about to name... Oh wait, no. Gold saw the trailer. Because they confirmed, like, Yon Katku to come back, right? And, like, okay, that's cool. That's a cool, like, low-rank monster. He wasn't in some of the, like, Rise. So it's cool to see him back. But, like, in terms of, like, new low-rank monsters to, like, keep bringing back, Tetranodon is going to be up there. It's rapidly ascended the ranks. So, yeah. But that's the other thing, right? It's kind of like making a Pokemon team. To me, making a Monster Hunter roster, it's kind of like making a Pokemon team, where it's like legendaries are cool, but I don't just want a team full of legendaries, and that's how I feel with the Pokemon team, with the Monster Hunter roster, because the Elder Dragons are cool. I don't want like a million Elder Dragons. Like I want a lot of quests with the monsters that are just kind of like animals to make the world feel alive and what have you. So again, that's another reason why I'm hoping for a lot of like good returning monsters, because they're just like, we've got Kieran and Fatalis and fucking Gormagala and Valstrax and I'm just gonna be like, okay, Tigrex, Glavenus, anyone? Listen, it's really cool that I can like make a toy Nerf gun and then use it to fight God, but I would also like to go out on safari and see like the elephants and stuff. And so, please make sure you guys bring those back. Please, my Capcom. I should have confidence in them. Like, between Rise and World, they've done real well with Monster Hunter recently. And as far as I can tell, Wild is not necessarily shaping up to be any lesser than them. But if anything, that's another reason I want a good roster, you know? Because, also, wait, I'm afraid I did something bad. Yes, I did something bad. Because, like, if the gameplay and what have you is super good, I want a big roster so I can use the gameplay more. I want my favorite monsters in there, so that way I don't have to be like, well, I can't hunt that in this game. Time to boot up Generations, which I wouldn't mind doing, but still. I have to boot up another Monster Hunter, etc., etc. See, this is what I was talking about. It's so tempting to want every Monster Hunter to be the full package, but even more so, give me my little guys. I'll feel bad for fighting. But even more so than Pokemon, it is wildly unfair to expect Capcom to be like, okay guys, for this third time in the row, every monster has been brought to this new generation of Monster Hunter. Like, we can all agree Pokemon's dropped the ball a fair bit, but Monster Hunter is a completely different deal in terms of bringing every character back. It is, oh. I still would really love to see Gear Rex from the Metal Gear crossover come back. That would be fun. That would be fun if in a new Monster Hunter they brought back like plenty of regulars as well as some new ones, but then they left out like Rathalos. You know, like they left out like a big returning monster, and they're like, and also here's Gear Rex with the base game, and it's like, what the hello? Yeah, are you sure? That's what we're going with, huh? Alright. I mean, if you say so. So, yeah. I will say this, as much as I'm talking, I'm almost like lamenting, like, the development of Monster Hunter, and like, want to make, like, missing any favorites that don't return. It's got me excited for the game, so. Again, clearly they're doing something right. I was literally just thinking about that, because I forgot that a streamer I do follow is like sponsored by Capcom in a way. Like, they're partnered with them. And I don't know if I could ever get to that point, both because of numbers, but also because I like to, I think I've said this before, where like I think Capcom has an interesting model where they have like franchise, when they have a franchise they like, they are feeding that fan base to an absurd degree. And like, for example, Monster Hunter is one of them right now. But then you have like their other franchises where they've been like, and you know, and they've let go a little bit. And like, for example, speaking as a Mega Man fan, Mega Man is one of them at the moment. So it's really interesting. Even though, you know, Nintendo hasn't like ported Mother 3 or what have you, etc., etc., I would still say they tend to give love to their old and new games, their different franchises, etc., etc. I mean, Lord knows Nintendo loves protecting their IPs. But Capcom's a little different, just in being like, well, you have a lot of different IPs, but I don't really feel like using this one. Capcom is a company that suffers from like hyperfixation, honestly. And to some degree, I love them for it. Because as long as at least one of their franchises I like is among their hyperfixations, then, you know, then like, I'll be like, man, I miss Mega Man, yada yada yada, but also I have lots of this game to play right now, so that's pretty fun. Very interesting relationships they have with their creations. Capcom, make me like a Capcom partner. I promise I'll start behaving better on stream. I will play more Capcom games, and I will not talk shit. I will, like, if you, especially if you let me kind of see behind the scenes, like just a little bit. Like, if you tell me a little bit of what's going on, then I'll be all like, okay, I see what you're doing. Honestly, again, as much as Nintendo is kind of a gold standard and has been for the longest time, there are some days for me where Capcom comes in with a steel chair and is just like, hey, check this out, and I'm like, oh. Capcom, I feel like Capcom always surprises me. I forget about them being just as cool as they are. Which, granted, I mean, sometimes you have something like Marvel Capcom Infinite, and it's just like, well, so I think that's when they start. I think you get that's when you can tell they've stopped hyperfixating on a game. Is when one comes out and you're like, ooh, I don't know. What happened? They're like, I don't know. We had it and we lost it. We were excited about this new game. Yeah, give me my Monster Hunter weekend already. Not even, and to be clear, I don't mean Capcom give me early access. I mean, fucking move time for, accelerate time. It's not very professional streamer of me, but sometimes I really just be like, I'm gonna scroll on my phone for a minute, like literally just a minute, to be like, I'm, you know, take a drag off my cigarette. That's so often how I feel nowadays, because people are like, oh my goodness, your phone, yeah, and I get it, and to some degree they have a point, But then I think about, like, well, before this, people were, like, inhaling lead and smoking cigarettes nonstop, so I think a quick glance at my phone here and there, checking up with my friends, etc., is actually not the worst. I know, that's like that's like the coldest take of all time, but with another mildly provocative comic book question. Okay. I hope, Pig, I do hope you know, I was not upset at any of those questions you were asking yesterday. I was a little bewildered, and I know you said you were tired. Still a little bewildered about, like, you asking them in general, but I please go on. I am happy when Hulk turns back into Bruce Banner, he gets his shirt back. Able to extrude shirts using gamma radiation, or is his skin just like that? I mean, the easy answer is that Banner just carries a shirt. Wait. Let me. Can I? Bruce Banner Rivals transformation. Marvel Rival Bruce Banner transformation. Banner transforming. I don't know if I can. Can I see? What about Hulk transformation? Alpha, all Hulk abilities. No. Show me him turning into puny Banner. That's not it. Oh well. I mean, the easy answer is just in universe, he typically carries extra clothes with him. Just accept the shit. I'm sorry about you working that long, Pig. Your work needs to not be doing that. Hey, Pig, can I ask you a question real quick? Where do you work? What hours are the buildings empty, and what are their fire safety precautions? Just, you know, as another kind of fun, there's just another fun, nerdy thing to ask between buds, you know? Just like a cool thing. But yeah. Honestly, I need to look. I need to look closer. I work from home. Damn. That's it. Don't burn down my home, please. That sent me for a loop. You being like 12-hour shifts, but I'm working at home. I mean, it's still not acceptable, but still going to talk with your boss with my crowbar. No. For legal reasons, this is a joke. Also, I do want to be clear about one thing before I continue with Pig and the Hulk and etc. Walt and Willie beating up Lieutenant Larry here. That was off screen, a lot of it. That won't be the case for every like fight in the comic. I will say there will be plenty of times where where I do my best to do some cool Sakuga as much as you can. Also, more weeb shit. I'm sorry that that's just actually kind of. I'm sorry that that's just kind of become the accepted term for like good animation and dramatic moments. Period. But yeah, this one was off screen mostly because he would not put up much of a fight either way. The Stitches back to you. Hey Gold, I'm not gonna lie. I was about to say something kind of like that, specifically for Marvel Rivals, but only because in Marvel Rivals, there's specifically a lot of time travel shenanigans going on. So the idea that the reason Bruce Banner just gets his shirt back automatically as opposed to being shirtless slash which, by the way, they're cowards. They should have just had Banner be shirtless at some point, like after the first transformation. But the idea that the Chronovium has gotten onto his shirt, and now whenever he transforms it back into Banner, it's stitching his shirt back together across time. That did occur to me, and I was like, well, no, that's a stupid comic book nerd thing to say. And then to some degree, you beat me to it. And my friend Gold is cool as hell, so they can't say stupid nerds. And Pig is far more of it, and I will say, Pig can say dumb nerd stuff, but he's way more in control of it than I am. I'll just let it fly. Pig does it on purpose. To be funny. Yeah, but you see, Gold, that's the problem. I would have said it sincerely. And it's still stupid, but I still would have said it sincerely. Have a good sleep, Pig. I hope you stop working long shifts because they need to stop asking that of you. I was on it. I was ready to be like, they don't pay you enough, Pig. And they probably don't, because that's just the world we live in. But also I was like, that might not be true. I mean, everyone deserves more money in this current day and age, but still. I don't know your job. I could say any number of things about it. Like, I was just talking about burning Pig's work down, but fucking he works from home, so oops. Clearly I can't do that now. I honestly do not understand what my friend Pig does for work, but it seems important. I mean, it would be really funny if Pig, like, kept the nuclear missile codes for Canada. I know Pig doesn't really, like, do, like, furry community stuff, but the fact that he is, like, an animal-based VTuber online would make that even funnier, considering how many people are like, yeah, furries just control the world. Well-known fact amongst people cultured in internet things. A lot of computer stuff is furries. And Pig, not quite doing computer stuff and not quite a furry, is a wildly important person in the Canadian military. That'd be funny. Is that? That's probably a good. That's a good enough angle. That's why it's called. Real quick. That's why it's like called rubber hose. Because like I can do this, right? And like if I was doing a realistic arm, that probably wouldn't be good enough. Or like this wouldn't be good enough. But with rubber hose, the character's arms are essentially just hoses, which is why it's called that. And you're just kind of able to be like, well, it's about the same width all around, and it's you know, and it's expressing the gesture I want. So cartoons are fun. Hot take, I like cartoons. They make me go, haha, I don't know if I've said this on stream. I need a box set of Ed, Edd and Eddy yesterday. I don't trust. I was literally just being like, everything's streaming now. I don't trust streaming services. It's been a while since I like watched a proper episode of Ed, Edd and Eddy. I think it is one of the things they took off of Max because the people who run HBO Max are morons. And I will say that, unequivocally. I don't even think I think even like a business analyst meeting, a lot of people be like, no, they're not they're not, like, they're getting tax write-offs, I guess, but everyone hates them and they're wasting money. So what was I just thinking of? But yeah, I think that's one of the things they took off that service. And it's just more like I hadn't even been watching it on there, which is why I haven't watched an episode in a while. But getting a box set so that way I'd be able to watch one of my favorite cartoons would be nice. Ed, Edd and Eddy's got a lot going for it on a lot of levels. What was I just thinking of? What was I just thinking of? Oh yeah, I also want to be like, well, Cahill, if you weren't watching it, why did you care they took it off? Because I wasn't watching it because I didn't have HBO Max, because they already took a million other things off. And if I'm paying for a streaming service, I don't need you removing a bunch of stuff I like on paper. Even if I'm not watching it at that moment, you showing me, it's like, we'll just remove this for tax purposes. It's like, fucking, I'm paying for this. Actively paying for a service you are apparently no longer providing. Get out of here. So there a large part, even though something to this degree hasn't happened yet, I would not be surprised if they like removed something from a streaming service for those reasons, and then it's like, well, that was the most popular thing people were watching, so you know. That hasn't happened yet. I'm not going to be shocked when it happens. So, mark my words. Clip this. Chat. My name is Nostradamus, and I'm here to make a prediction. You ready? Entertainment executives in America are going to make a dumb decision in the next year. That's right. It's a long shot, but I'm pretty confident in my prediction. And soon, all of you will be able to see that I truly do know the future. To prove my psychic prowess, please, chat, pick a number between 1 and 10. But it cannot be 1, 10, 9, 8, 7, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just pick any of the numbers remaining in that category, and I will be able to, don't say the number, but I will be able to guess it in your mind. Alright, are you ready? Okay. Do you have your number, chat? People at home? Okay. Alright. And with my ability to see through space and time while I am mildly constipated, I can tell you that your number was 6. I know. You're impressed. You're... Oh my God. Thank you. I know. I know you're impressed, a little intimidated, a little aroused, but I assure you, it was just a gift given to me. That's completely wrong. Oh, well, that's unfortunate. Well, my life is over. Lord. That was basically just an anti-Donna sketch I did. Granted, that sketch is way more about an actor that they've hired in a psychic show being not good at pretending that, you know, he's a fake audience member, that he's a plant. But how are plants viewed in the acting world? You know, like if you're an actor and one of your first gigs, like when you're really just starting out, is being a fake audience member for something, not even necessarily something like a psychic, but maybe like a like something a bit more, I would say, innocent, less about fooling people, more just like, oh my goodness, wacky audience interaction, you know? Is that seen as like is that looked down upon? Is that seen as like, yeah, you good job on the acting gig, guy? Or what's up? Truly, I have no idea, because I did not pursue a career in acting. I honestly, Lord, I say this with all respect to people who act, but like, now, I said that like I was going to insult them, but honestly, I think I just couldn't handle the pressure. You know? Like, already now, when I'm either doing like retail or hospitality work, or I'm trying to do artwork, I'm just like, this is a lot to handle. Having to go to like an audition and really interface with people in that way, I would break. I'd go insane. And a lot of actors have gone insane before, so I can understand why. But all right, I'm gonna call it a night. Long day, and we did some good stuff here. Honestly, I was talking to Oak, who's also been doing some great art over on their Blue Sky. If you want to look up Okie Dokie. What was the thing of? But like, I was talking to them about comics, and I was like, yeah, the current, like, well, the last one I put out, I was happy with it overall, because it was just hitting a story beat, but at the end of the day, I don't think it was like the best artistically. Like, it was probably one of the lowest artistically I've done in recent times. But again, it's just because I was like, I want to hit this story beat. I think in terms of like the script, better art isn't gonna. Better art is not necessarily gonna make the comic joke work better. So it's like, I was okay with it. I put it out. But this one, clearly more complicated, and hopefully once it's all finished, I'll be like, heck yeah, this is a drawing I could say I'm proud of. But yeah, let's find someone to raid. Thank y'all so much for being here. I appreciate it. We were just talking about Marvel Rivals, weren't we? Because Paper Box House went live with Marvel Rivals. That might be a fun time. Yeah, he just went live, so let's do that. Let us do that. Given how my name is Cahill Comics, and Pig did start with did give us a Marvel Rivals question. Oh wait. Oh, he gets it's art, and he'll do Marvel Rivals if he gets a hype train. That's fine. Same diff. Read a fellow artist. Maybe see some Marvel Rivals. Think about Eggman. Good times. So yeah, thanks y'all for being here. We'll be back next week. I'll probably start off some more art, and then I'm planning to finish out the Sonic classic games, like series, with Superstars next week. We'll see if I want to change my mind and do a different game, but that's the plan so far. So I hope to see y'all there. Have a good one. Bye.